Well, welcome to the video, and you may be mistaken for thinking this is an advert for sunglasses. It really isn't. Today we are flying in one of these, an Airbus A320 with EasyJet back to London Gatwick from here in Funchal in Madeira. If that sounds good, do stay tuned, and thanks for joining me. Now, there's some brilliant jet spotting to be done here in Funchal, some brilliant vantage points, and here's a good example. And also, here's the jet we'll be flying on today, a 6-year-old Airbus A320 Neo. Madeira is beautiful, and the airport is no exception. It's surrounded by high peaks and beautiful lush countryside. We'll be doing this same manoeuvre very shortly, as all jets that are taking off in this direction need to do a bit of a turnaround on the runway at the end, right by the ocean. Quick plug too, if you're new, please do like, comment and subscribe, and for those of you who already subscribe, thanks so much for following me. I really appreciate having you all along on my adventures. It was great to watch another A320 Neo depart, as I knew I'd be doing just the same manoeuvre in just a few hours' time. Super excited. What a beautiful departure, just look at that view. Now, heading back to Madeira Airport, my flight was later on this same afternoon. Just look at this amazing viewing terrace. I've got very few shots, if any, of inside Madeira Airport, largely because I spent most of the time outside watching jets. Who can blame me? The airport itself is actually pretty nice though, with plenty of facilities and even a lounge. Here's what I paid for my flight. Not too bad, and pretty comparable really to other airlines like Jet2, British Airways and TUI, all of whom fly here regularly. On to boarding then, and the old-fashioned way of boarding aircraft via the steps, which I rather like. Brilliant views of the aircraft, and just really nice to do it in this fashion. The aircraft was boarded from the front and the back, although we did seem to take a while to get on board in the end. Not that I was complaining. Just look at this view. If you'd like to see my British Airways flight down here the day before, which was also in an A320 from Gatwick, then I'll put a link up in the corner now. Now, to be fair, boarding was fairly organised, although it felt like we were just stood in different places at different points, but in a very long queue. I always marvel at the amount of people that seem to fit onto these tiny aeroplanes. There seemed to be thousands of us getting on. Of course there wasn't, but it seemed to take a little while to get on board. Now, that was fine on the basis that the weather was actually pretty decent. So I'd got a window seat, and here it is. Now, if you watched the British Airways video I posted earlier, you'll know that I moaned relentlessly about the legroom, and I have to say, it's not much better here. Now, because we were in some sort of tropical climate, they also had to spray the aircraft for bugs. No joke. Soon it was time to whiz off back to Gatwick. Yep, sorry, terrible joke. But anyway, here we are pushing back from Funchal in Madeira for our flight back to London Gatwick, and we were on time. Now, EasyJet offers a number of different fares, so I went for a basic fare and then paid for a seat. But you can also go for enhanced packages that include seat selection, but also give you extra baggage. It might be worth thinking about that, because this was a really busy flight and there was very little overhead bin space for people to put their bags. Just something to think about when you're booking. Now, this is being filmed in early March, and I have to say the weather was amazing. We did have a little bit of rain, but ultimately it was an amazing climate. There's also lots and lots of different airlines that fly into Madeira, which proves just how popular a destination it is. Have another look at that seat. It's pretty basic. There's no power. There's a little pocket and a very tiny table to pull down. And as I mentioned before, the legroom, I have to be honest, it's pretty shocking. But then it was with British Airways on the flight down here too. If you're tall, you may want to spend a little bit more money on an exit row. I'm 6'4". I've said that in many videos, and I really struggled, if I'm honest. Thankfully, the lady next to me didn't take up all of the leg space, so I was able to slightly lean into her space, as can be seen there. I hope she didn't mind. Anyway, time for taxi. Even the taxi to the end of the runway here is just beautiful. Look how close we are to the ocean. Here we're making our turn at the end of the runway before we get underway off to Gatwick. Now, if you're an avgeek, how amazing would it be to live in one of these houses here? Wow, what a view. Anyways, I'll go quiet now for the amazing takeoff. Now, I won't say too much, but it's a spectacular takeoff with beautiful views. So I'll go quiet again, and there's about a minute of footage. It's just beautiful. Sit back and enjoy. Breathtaking, isn't it? What an amazing departure. Absolutely love Madeira.
Shortly during the flight, pass through the cabin on each drink service. We're inside the brochure, found your seatbelt pocket. You'll find our extensive range of hot and cold fountains.
We were soon getting up to cruising altitude and absolutely on time for our arrival back at Gatwick. Fair play to EasyJet. Now, this is a low-cost airline, so there's no in-flight entertainment or Wi-Fi, but who needs in-flight entertainment, to be fair, when you've got a view like this? Soon they came around the cabin to offer their buy on board products. I got a wrap, some crisps and a drink, and I think this cost me about a tenner. It wasn't too bad. In no time at all, and despite my aching legs, which really were kind of getting uncomfortable at this point, our 3 hour and 30-minute journey was about to come to an end. Here we are on our approach into Gatwick. The videoing's not the best, I'm afraid, but we know what night filming is like. A lovely smooth touchdown and a liberal use of reverse thrust, and we were soon back heading off the runway here at Gatwick Airport on time. So as we taxi back to our gate, I have to say the flight's been fine. It was actually a little bit more expensive than I expected, and I had to pay for seat selection too, so that took the overall price to about €130 overall. As I said before, that's very similar to the likes of British Airways, Wizz and others, who all cost around the same amount of money. I was surprised at that. I thought there'd be a bit more difference, not least because of the variety of airlines that fly down to Madeira. Overall though, the flight was on time, the aircraft was clean, the legroom was awful, I'm not going to lie, but then it's up to me going forward, I guess, if I'm going to fly EasyJet, or British Airways for that matter, to get myself an exit seat. Soon we were given the joy of walking across the bridge at Gatwick Airport. It's really cool to walk this high up above all of the aircraft parked below. So as I knock on the door of nearly 700 subscribers, thank you so much to those who already do. If you like what you see, do like, subscribe and follow me ahead for more adventures. Really great to have you along, and see you next time. Thanks again.